Good afternoon. I'm delighted to share with you another one of my hopeful TV projects entitled Bubbledome. Before I start on the manuscript, you may be wondering why this video had no example titles or music. Because of what's been going on with copyrights at the moment, I have decided that from now on, no samples to some of my ideas will be provided, but those that are already live will remain. This show requires 2 presenters on set and 1 voiceover announcer. The announcer will also be the scorekeeper. Here's the idea of the show. The clue of the game is in the name. Within the show, all the rounds involved are related to collecting bubbles or unique rules to sports that use a ball or balls to play, for instance bowling, snooker and cricket. At the start of the show, the title sequence created for the show will be played. After this, the show's announcer will be speaking before the presenters enter. As an example, he might go, "It's the Bubbledome, the all-round ball game challenge, where your rolling, bouncing and throwing skills give you the chance to win lots of prizes. Now, please welcome the guys that put the bubbles into the Bubbledome." And then he calls out the presenters' names one after the other. On their call, the presenters come into the studio from the entrance gap in the audience benches. They will walk into the middle of the studio and make their introductory talk, explaining the show to the studio audience and the audience at home. For example, the first presenter goes, "Welcome to Bubbledome. This is the place where our players use their rolling, bouncing and throwing skills in a chase to win lots of prizes." And the second presenter might go, "But before they are allowed to do that, they have to score as many points as they can as they go up against 4 bubbly tasks. The more points the players score, the closer they can get to the prizes. So without further ado, let's meet the 4 players playing green, blue, red and yellow." A small talk between the presenters is optional. This is an example studio design. The audience benches should surround the studio. The main studio floor in the middle will bear the Bubbledome logo and will be the area where the games are set up. And there must be a cut in one section of the audience bench for the presenters to enter the studio. When the presenters give the cue to meet the players in the show, they enter one by one with the announcer giving a short introduction to them. Each player is wearing a t-shirt of their corresponding colour. They also wear black trousers and white trainers. For example, the announcer calls, "Playing green is Jamie Turner, age 13 from Essex. Playing blue, Wendy Maxine, age 12 from Northampton. Playing red is Peter Cooper, also 12 from Newcastle upon Tyne. And playing yellow, Sean Goodman, aged 14 from Cardiff in Wales." The players will be standing in a line next to the presenters. The presenters will then have a small talk with each player in turn, and they will ask to find out about hobbies and interests, if they have any friends in the audience, and if they feel they are confident enough to take on the Bubbledome. When all the players have been fully introduced, the games will start. A ball machine with 11 numbered balls will be used to decide what rounds are played during the game, this similar to the National Lottery. Before each game starts, these numbered balls are mixed up in another larger ball. A rising pole is made inside the machine, and this will catch one numbered ball using magnetism. This ball then rises out of the top, and one of the presenters will call out the number on the ball. After the number has been determined, the game is announced by the other presenter, and the rounds will then begin. Scores will be shown on the screen for the viewers at home, and they will be told to the presenters via the director's booth in order to save the hassle of counting up. Now, here are some of the rounds I have invented for this game. Sky High. This game requires one to use their spring techniques to grab bubbles from the sky. 4 large trampolines are set out in a square in the middle of the studio, and up to 40 bubbles are hanging from magnetic poles at the top of the studio, approximately 2 to 3 meters from the surface of each trampoline. Each set of bubbles are coloured in the corresponding playing colour. The players will also be strapped into safety harnesses and elasticized ropes in order to support them during the game. Within the course of 1 minute, the players must bounce up and reach for the bubbles, and throw them into one of the baskets that surround the trampolines in a circle. For each bubble that makes it into a basket without it missing or bouncing out will add 1 point to the player's score. When the time is up, the players must signal the players to stop bouncing and remain still. All the baskets can be used by all 4 players. And this is very important. This round must have safety standards applied to reduce the risk of injury. Please do not try this at home. If an injury occurs, the game must be stopped and the medical will run in to see what the problem is. If an injury prevents a player from continuing the show or any further rounds, a stand-in player will be present to take their place. Up roller. This round requires the players to use their accuracy skills. 4 tilted runways are laid out in a circle with an extra raised end to let bubbles fly upwards. All the runways are laid out to face towards the 2 baskets in the middle of the studio, 1 white basket and 1 gold basket higher up from the others. The players are given a basket of bubbles beside them of their player colour. Within just 30 seconds of gameplay, these bubbles are rolled up the ramps one by one in an attempt to launch them into the baskets in the middle. The bubbles are thrown into the air by the specially raised ends, which will be designed to do this. They will score 1 point for every bubble that makes it into the white basket, or 2 points for bubbles that manage to land in the gold basket. Any bubbles that miss the basket do not count. The Rolling Stones. In this game, the players are challenged on response. A tilted wall with wide belts of white bubbles will be in operation during this game. In 30 seconds, the players must grab bubbles from this wall and throw them into baskets of their own colour at the other end of the studio. They score 1 point for every bubble that makes it successfully into their basket at the end of the game. At some points during the game, glowing bubbles will pass by the belts. These bubbles will score 2 points for every successful score. If a player should accidentally throw a bubble and it lands in another player's basket by mistake, that player scores their point instead, so be careful. Bubbles up! A large bowl filled with hundreds of bubbles is in the middle of the studio, and in the middle of the bowl where all the bubbles are rolling down to, a light wind throws these bubbles up and mixes them into each other. The players are catching bubbles by using small caskets attached to poles. Within 45 seconds, the players must catch their own colour bubbles with their caskets and put them into a bucket behind them. They score a point for every bubble that is placed in the bucket at the end of the game. If they place the end of the casket down on the surface of the bowl, bubbles they pick up will not count. Points will be deducted from players' scores if they take any of the other players' colours. Pot shot. Are the players any good at snooker? This is what pot shot is all about. Each player is standing at a snooker table with 10 balls of their corresponding colour set in a triangle, and the white cue ball at the other end. Within the course of 1 minute, players must pot as many balls as they can. Simple. But before the game begins, everyone is allowed to take a break shot to split the pack. Any balls that are potted during the break shot will also count on the score. If a player clears their table before the time runs out, they will score 10 bonus points. If the white ball goes down the pocket, they lose 1 point, and if this happens and they clear the table, the bonus points will be null and void. Overloaded roll. We know about snooker techniques, but what about the other sports like bowling or skittles? Here is one version of skittles with added complications. 100 Skittles are lined up in front of the players in the shape of a diamond. 2 bumpers will also guard the sides. Players have 1 shot each to roll their ball at the Skittles and knock down as many as they can. The same lane will be reset for each player. This game can up a player's score highly, as there is a maximum of 100 points available.